Hi there, strikers. There's something uniquely disturbing about people vanishing into thin air. Read about these incredibly strange, unsolved cases. Although these disappearances span centuries, locations, age ranges, and circumstances, there's one common thread shared between them: a lack of closure. There are theories, speculations, and investigations, but never a decisive answer. On our incoming episode, I'm going to feature some of the cases of mysterious disappearances, of some missing that just disappear without any trace. Our feature story is about the mysterious disappearance of Shaun Ritchie. On Friday, October 31st into Saturday, November 1st, 2014, Shaun Ritchie travelled in a van with a small group of friends on the A981 to a remote farmhouse in the Greenburn area, near Strichen in Scotland. He vanished without a trace from the woodland near the Kersey Hill farm. Shaun had been at home that day in Fraserburgh with his family before visiting a convenience store and left with friends to celebrate Halloween. Later that day, on November 1st, 2 emergency calls were made to police from the Greenburn area, one requesting help and the second cancelling the requested help. Who exactly these calls came from is unclear. Ritchie was 20 years old at the time of his disappearance. He was last seen running from a farmhouse near a woodland area outside Strichen, Aberdeenshire, between Strichen and the A98 Fraserburgh to Banff Road, where he had travelled with 7 friends for a party. Later that same night, 2 phone calls were made from the Greenburn area to the police, one call asking the police to come to a farm in the aforementioned area for help, and a second call cancelling the request. 5 days later, some of Shaun's clothing was found, a belt, trainers and a hooded top, but Shaun himself has remained missing to this day. Ritchie's father, Mr. Charlie Reid, is critical of the investigation by Police Scotland and has stated his belief that Ritchie was killed over a debt. Mr. Reid is offering a €5,000 reward for anyone who can help him find his son. Likewise, Shaun's mother, Carol Ann, as well as Shaun's sister, Nicole, believes that Shaun was murdered at the 31st of October 2019. Ritchie's disappearance remains a missing person inquiry, and police have stated there is no evidence to suggest that Shaun has been the victim of any crime. However, renowned forensic expert Professor Dave Barclay, a forensic science lecturer at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, has stated that he believes that the police are probably unofficially treating the case as a murder, and that the most likely option, considering all the effort they have put in to find the body, brings me to agree with Shaun's dad. It could be an offense of violence where someone has deliberately concealed the body. The police seem to be treating it as a no-body murder. Shaun Ritchie has been missing for a year. Charlie said the last time Shaun was seen he had been with a group who had travelled in a van to a remote farmhouse for a party. He added, something happened that led them to run and split up into 2 groups. Each group thought Shaun was with the other. They all got home that night, and he didn't. I just find it bizarre and suspicious that this group of 8 young lads split up and run, but there's no evidence to say that Shaun has disappeared due to criminality. Charlie said there is no way his son could still be alive, given the conditions on the night of his disappearance when temperatures dipped below 0. He added, some of Shaun's clothing and belongings were discovered close to the farmhouse in a boggy area, but that was the last evidence found of his movements that night. He added, some of Shaun's clothing and belongings were discovered close to the farmhouse in a boggy area, but that was the last evidence found of his movements that night. The police have conducted one of the largest searches in Police Scotland's history, but 1 year on, We are no closer to finding Shaun or to finding out the full events of that night. Police have continually said they are keeping an open mind. But so far they have found no evidence of criminality. Charlie, who was working in Saudi Arabia when his son went missing, said as soon as he heard who Shaun had been with that night he was fearful, adding, "I knew it was bad straight away." Charlie, who was working in Saudi Arabia when his son went missing, said as soon as he heard who Shaun had been with that night he was fearful, adding, "I knew it was bad straight away." I'm not going to point fingers and name people, but there were people there that night that aren't the most upstanding members of the community, shall we say. Charlie said, "I have told the police time and again there's no way Shaun walked out of the area where his shoes were found. He couldn't have. The police had ground-penetrating radar and they found stuff in the bogs, tiny little artifacts and loads of animal bones, but no trace of Shaun." Charlie said he accepts police had done everything they could in the search for his son. He added, "I can't fault them, it must have cost millions." But he admitted he had struggled to get on with his life since Shaun's disappearance. He said, "Each day of the last year has been among the hardest and most painful times that I have ever had to endure, and as each day passes that Shaun continues to be missing, things get no easier to live through. I fully understand we will never see or speak to Shaun ever again, and we will never be able to sit and listen to music and discuss who was the better vocalist in Black Sabbath. It feels like I've been battered around the head by Mike Tyson. I just feel punch drunk. I have done for a year. It's a bizarre feeling." Charlie added, "I've 3 girls and my wife. I have to look after them as well and have a business to run, and it's hard to balance all that." Shaun would be 21 years old now. I only really got to know him the last few years. He was intelligent, funny and loved his music. I had spoken to people in the oil industry and set up a job for him. He'd been keeping his head down the last few weeks before he went missing. The last time we spoke was October 26th and he wanted to come round. I said I was overseas and he was going to come over when I got home. But that never happened. There's no happy ending, but we just want to lay him to rest.